Hi, this is a screencast version of our tutorial from week 2. So what we're doing here, first of all, is providing an orientation to the course page and to some of the associated weekly activities that go with that. Second, to provide an orientation to your first major writing assignment, which is the case study number 1 assignment. And third, to jump in a little bit to our subject matter for this module, and specifically the idea of making the familiar strange. First of all, just getting oriented to the course. So what we're going to do here, first of all, is just to flip to the course page. Here's the opening page of the course page, and then what you can see is that every week of the course I will be in touch with you via these news items. So here's week 3 today. This is from last week. And what we do in these news items is that we highlight whatever is right on deck for the given week. Here I've included links this week, for instance, for this week's reading in Module 1, a link to the reading quiz, a link to the discussion post. Last week, which was week 2, I also provided links to your tutorial group in Microsoft Teams. So, key way to change your view of the course page, particularly if you're looking for something specific, is to click on the Content Browser button. And here you can see that you've got a menu bar down the left-hand side. So you can see we've got from Module 1, weeks 1, 2, and 3, and content that is listed along with them. If we're looking at week 3 here, you can see that I've also put a link the quiz this week, and I've also put a link to this week's discussion board. The other crucial thing that's really important for you on an ongoing basis is to know where to look for instructions for assignments. So I'm going to click on the Assignments and Resources folder here. Here we've got an orientation to your reading quizzes and discussion boards. Here are the instructions for your first case study assignment. We're going to come back to that. Here is some stuff that you may want to reference in doing your case study assignment about how to document things using APA format. By the way, you can also access each week's quiz by clicking on the Assessment tab and then going to Quizzes. Likewise, you can also link to each week's discussion post by clicking on the Communications tab and then Discussion. What I'd like to do now is to talk about your case study assignment. First of all, when it's due Friday, October 9th at midnight. That's the end of week 5. By the way, always make sure that you read the instructions for each assignment, the detailed instructions for yourself. There's a folder on the course page called Assignments and Resources, and the full instructions for this assignment can be found there. What's behind this assignment is setting up a situation where you are learning to make connections between your own experience, what you observe around you, and a particular sociological concept. The concept in this case is that of social norms, and by the way, here are the pages in the textbook where you can find reference to that concept. Pages 67 to 68. The length of this assignment I'm not giving in number of words, but in number of paragraphs. It's 4 paragraphs in length. If you look at the instructions for the assignment, there's a question that I'm asking you for each paragraph in sequence. So each paragraph is a response to a different question. I have asked on the instructions for a minimum of 2 sentences in response to each paragraph. And honest to God, that is a bare minimum, because I don't know how you would possibly answer each question correctly in anything less than that, and I encourage you to write more. How you will submit the case study assignment is via the assignment Dropbox. Okay, let's jump into our sociological topic for this week, and that is this notion of making the familiar strange. The origin of the idea of making the familiar strange is from the concept of the sociological imagination, and that, of course, comes to us from the work of the sociologist C. Wright Mills. What he means by the sociological imagination is developing an awareness of the linkages between individual behavior and the wider society. Part of that skill of developing the sociological imagination is developing the ability to view your own society as an outsider would. Which leads us right into the idea of making the familiar strange, which you'll be familiar with from Module 1. So making the familiar strange is the technique of looking at an everyday social activity and behavior from an outsider's perspective in order to reveal unwritten social rules. So for the first of a couple of examples here, I'm going to refer to something called the elevator experiment. The origin of the elevator experiment is a television show that was probably the first reality TV show ever. It was called Candid Camera. It was on the air as of 1962. And in Candid Camera, the typical show involved setting up a situation with a hidden camera where people would be sort of fooled into a particular kind of situation without realizing that they were being videotaped. In the case of the elevator experiment, what you will be able to see from the video link that I'm including alongside this screencast is that the elevator experiment involves research assistants who are in an elevator and one person in the elevator who doesn't know what's going on, and playing with social norms in the context of being in an elevator and doors opening and closing. You'll have to check out the link for yourself. Another example which gets into some of the same things is the idea of what we call proxemics, which is the study of personal space. And by the way, the reference from your textbook for personal space is page 133. Research on personal space by sociologists essentially reveals that one of the unwritten social rules that we live by every day is that we have a very finely tuned sense of how close is too close in terms of somebody approaching us. You can see here on the chart that personal space is divided into an intimate zone, a friend zone, a social zone, and an audience zone. So the idea here is pretty straightforward. You're a lot more comfortable having a friend close to you than you are having a complete stranger close to you. If we were in the classroom, I would demonstrate that by deliberately walking up and standing too close to one of you as students, because you know when a professor is getting too close to you, you can feel it. So it's an interesting example of unwritten social rules. The second of the two links that I'm providing in the Week 2 folder is a tongue-in-cheek YouTube video about, it's called Male Restroom Etiquette, and it's about the complicated world of which urinal a man will choose to use depending on which ones are already occupied. And going back to personal space, the operating rule for choosing a urinal is that you need to be as far as possible from anyone else, and that the minimum distance between you and anyone else is sort of one urinal space between the two of you. So you never want to be right next to somebody. You want to have a space between you. So thanks. This is just the reading that we went over for Week 3, Chapter 2, Module 1, Week 3, the reading quiz, and the discussion board. Thank you.